Hey guys, thanks so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast, where we help gamers realize their full potential. And today I have a very special guest for you guys. This is Terrence Ortiz, and Terrence has had many hats, has done many jobs, and of course is a gamer through and through, does mobile games, does fighting, does sports, does you name it, he's played it, right? We love our games. And is a streamer. Oh gosh, Terrence, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So just to let the folks know at home, what is kind of your gamer journey, right? So you play a lot of games. I know I've played a lot of games in my journey, my life. Where did you get started in games, and kind of tell us about that journey?
All right. Well, I'm dating myself a little bit, but 91 Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega Genesis, and Michael Jackson Moonwalker. It was a big bundle at the time, and that's how I got my feet wet. From there, I always enjoyed playing them. So as I matured a little bit, I said, hey, why not take the steps to learn how to make them? And so that brought me through an education in computer science, finding various jobs in IT, and then realizing that computer science isn't game making. So, I realized the school I was in, Pace University, it was a business school. Therefore, we were doing computer science on a business level. And I just, I felt drained. I kind of wasn't enjoying it. So, as a hobbyist I am, I went to PC building and then also dabbled around in some Mugen. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but it takes the Marvel versus Capcom 1 and 2 style of game system and allows you to customize it. So I went from doing stupid things like putting Homer Simpson against Peter Griffin, and then I started making my own models, and that's just showing my dedication to the industry. And then, unfortunately, I didn't break into the industry. However, those lessons and that mindset has provided a decent lifestyle for me, all within the realm of IT.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit, yeah, dive into that kind of aspect of it as far as like the lessons and the mindset, especially, right? Because that's something that I think that a lot of gamers, especially those outside of gaming, but I think even gamers themselves don't realize how amazing games are at teaching us skills, right? Just even life skills. And like you said, in lessons and mindset. So tell us a couple of the lessons that that you learned from video games.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I'll take you back to high school. Uh, had a conversation with my father, and he's like, I sit here, I watch you play these games all the time. And, from a preventive standpoint, looks like you're a loser. Looks like you're not doing much with your time, sitting in front of the TV, just losing hours, right? But no, he pointed out some qualities that I had, and I didn't notice that I had, but they become evident when you're playing video games. So he said, I've watched you study, manuals. I watched you configure your keyboard to do unconventional things. And this was back when you had to go into the INI files and actually configure keyboards and gaming joysticks or whatever. This is, pre drivers and all of that. So, he said, I watch you do all of that from scratch. Well, let's apply this to school. Let's apply this to some schoolwork. Let's apply this to some actual work, the summer job, see how that works. And long story short, he wasn't wrong. That analytical brain is very valuable in the workforce. I mean, from customer service to sales to what I do now as a technician. It's a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of needing to know this, to know that. And I'm just able to draw those relations to each other and pretty much solve any problem that you throw at me.
That's great. That's the problem solving aspect of it is huge, right? Just being able to solve just any kind of generic problem, right? Is just something I think gamers are naturally in tune to, right? Because that's we do it for fun, right? All the time. So it's
Exactly.
something that we're so good at doing. So having that kind of troubleshooting in that kind of service-based industry is huge. Absolutely. And amazing that your father was so supportive and actually noticed those skills and noticed kind of what you were learning from that. Because I think that's unfortunate that a lot of parents don't see that, right? Like, their kids might be doing well in one area, but then they just, laser, blinders on, look at the video games. It's like, oh, but you're just wasting time here, right? Kind of odd. And so for those that have yeah, those listening that are, parents that have kids, right? And for those listening to the show, maybe they know, but what would you say to those kind of non-gamer parents, right? That maybe their kids are playing a lot of video games, but they're learning something, right? So like what would you say to the parents that are worried that kids are spending too much time on their games?
I took this upon myself to do it because at the time of this conversation, I was a little bit older to kind of understand and reevaluate myself. So for the parents, I would suggest that you gamify what your direction is and where you want your child to be or where you want your child to go. Maybe if they're not doing chores as efficiently that you like it, provide them with what's been called or now is called the trophy or achievement system. Make it a little bit extra challenging and give them another extra reward because they, completed that task. And they'll start to realize that, hey, what I'm doing in this game will translate in the real world.
And you make up a very good point, and that's gamifying systems. And gamification is huge, and I think has definitely exploded over the last few years, from where it started. Even almost 10 years ago at this point, I think is like the first kind of inklings of it. But it's just it's becoming much more prevalent, and that's something I'm absolutely supportive of. And it's taking these gaming elements, and usually in a business sense is typically where you see a lot of the application. But there's so many things you can do at home, like what you're saying. And so we've had systems like this, and I think for those listening, it's been around, but we haven't necessarily called it that. Right. You're talking like kind of, the gold stars that you get as a kid, like the little stickers, right? Yeah, just like
Yeah,
the little fun things. Just like, oh yeah, look at how well you're doing. Look at this kind of, that was kind of the early achievement system, right? When we were kids.
that's right. That's right. And then
So
it's funny nowadays. I mean, if you think about it, it translates to adults as well. I mean, look at all of these apps that we have on the mobile phone. You can gamify your weight loss journey. You can gamify your diet. It's everywhere now. So I think it just takes the pressure off of the child.
absolutely. I think it takes the pressure off the child. I think it takes the pressure off the parent too, to instead of just being frustrated or trying to, nag or harp on them, right? It's just that if you make it more engaging, it's that instead of just pushing them to do it, it's more of a pull where like they'll want to do it because they want to get that achievement, right? They want to get that satisfaction of doing it. So huge.
Absolutely.
So I love that journey, that understanding, that lesson. So tell us a little bit also about the mindset portion of it that you mentioned, because as far as mindset, I know is so important for everything that we do, and a lot of people maybe not even understand, right? So I think there's some people that probably listen, they're new to the personal development kind of space, and so trying to understand, maybe even a basic understanding. So in your definition, what is mindset?
Now, see, it's funny because we call it mindset. However, it's a cross between the mental and the physical. So, mindset for me, for example, I'm very analytical. However, right, but there needs to be an execution there. So, for my current job, I am a customer engineer for NCR, and my responsibility is to basically assess how we can make the lives of our customers easier. We provide payment systems. So what I do is when I first walk into a store, I'm looking at the points of contact. I'm already seeing the amount of traffic that's going on within that store, and automatically I'm assessing what needs to be done and how I can achieve that goal. And at the same time, I am implementing systems. I'm writing to corporate, trying to get their backing on things. And when all of that comes together, one, you have a happy customer. Two, you're happy yourself because you feel fulfilled. And that's where the mindset comes in. I'm not going to leave the task unanswered or incomplete. I'm going to complete it, one, to my fullest ability and to the ability that you want me to fulfill it. And that just goes back to gaming. I'm a completionist. I like to 100% my games. I want all of the trophies. I want the extra ending. I want the third ending, everything.
Yeah,
And I work the
secret
same
endings.
way.
Yep, I love that. This, yeah, trying to get all the endings set. I'm definitely a bit of that myself, right? Trying to get, especially on like PlayStation, get the platinum trophy, right? Unique to PlayStation, I love. It's like here's your meta achievement. You did all the things, right? So, so good. So I love the execution, the taking action aspect of it, because there is a lot of talk, and I'll say I'm guilty of this myself as far as like mindset and thinking about it. It's like, mind. So, okay, it's mostly in your head, right? It's how you think about things, and it's kind of the way I perceive it a lot. But understanding without execution, right? Knowledge without action is pretty worthless, right?
Exactly.
You can know a lot of things, and I like the phrase knowledge is power, and I'm like, that's not correct, right? Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. It's like you can
Exactly.
learn a
I agree.
lot, but if you don't do anything with it and it just sits in your head, you haven't, it's no value, right? It just sits there. So taking the action, having that level of execution, amazing, amazing stuff. So, do you have any kind of examples where you've seen that, whether yourself or maybe other gamer, friends that that, taking that game aspect of it and applying it to the life to really take that action?
Oh yeah, I mean, one of my great friends, I went to school with him and everything, and we came up together, obviously, in the gaming realm. We worked on one of his businesses together, building PCs. So he actually took on the task of developing a game, and one of those things he did. I mean, he's a parent as well. He has a very busy life, and he's building the game as a hobby. However, what I mentioned early, he gamified it, and I mean, the development.
Gamify making a game, right?
Yes, yes, and it sounds absurd, I know, but I mean, it took the pressure off of him. It made him relax. It made him more of a family man, because he has to separate actual work, the game work, and being a family man. So I mean, he was able to improve his time management. He's able to be present, and he's resting well. He's energized. He's enthusiastic about his task, and I'd love to show you some of that. Once we get out of here, if you're
Yeah,
interested. But
absolutely.
basically, something just as simple as turning a chore into a game can really work wonders for you.
Yeah, the chores in the games is huge, just from a productivity standpoint too. Like, we talk about also previously, right? Helping the child do their chores by the gold stars and all that thing. But it works. It works for adults too, right? Because we want to achieve, right? That sense of wanting to be accomplished, wanting to succeed, that kind of satisfaction, that doesn't go away when you grow up, right? It just kind of like we change kind of our perception on it maybe a little bit, but like we're still us. We still want to succeed. We still want to do well. So being able to gamify it that is huge. So that is super cool. So yeah, I would absolutely love to be, interested in that. And if it's something worth sharing, with the audience, yeah, definitely let me know if that's okay and that's doable because it could be an extra resource for people.
Gotcha,
Absolutely.
gotcha.
Gotcha. So as far as your own journey too, right? Going so you build PCs, right? And you've been in the IT kind of the tech space, and then of course being the gamer, right? You got into the streaming. So tell us a little bit about the streaming journey and kind of how that's been and how interesting that is as far as the being the gamer.
I mean, okay, so growing up, you always say, "Hey, you can't play video games. This is not a job." And fast forward about, 20 years later, it's a job, a very lucrative one as well. And so, and please don't go into it thinking that this is the answer to your parents' complaints. No, there's some reality there that this is still a business, so you're not going to be rich overnight, but you can make it work for you. And one of those things that make it work is the what we said earlier, the mindset. There are certain qualities a streamer has to have. You have to persevere. You have to have perseverance. You have to have a level of thick skin in today's society. I mean, the word trolls is dominant in our society. So, with the existence of that, you do have to develop some thick
Yeah.
skin. You have to be assertive. You also have to have let's see. I guess some product knowledge. You
Mm.
want to know where to stream to, who's popular, who's your competitors, and there's also a level of networking there. I mean, your biggest rival can be your greatest asset.
Yeah.
And that's something that we found prevalent within the fighting game community. A lot of people, they just think competitive. I want to be number one, but there's a lot of cohesion in between those fighting game community streamers because we'll go ahead and watch. It's like watching a football team for a football team. You study your rivals' moves,
Yeah.
and we do the same thing within gaming. But the streaming journey, it has not been as consistent as I liked it to because once again, as adults, life does take over. But I do dabble in it as a hobby. I keep my relationships and connections still intact with the people that I've met over the years. And then, they always know where to find me. They can reach me on the Discord. They can pull me in for some product knowledge, maybe even some strats on the game, or even a PC build. So it's very good to just operate around all of those avenues.
Absolutely. The connection piece of it I think is huge there too, that people don't maybe go into it thinking about that, right? Is that that's kind of almost an afterthought. And like when most people I think get started streaming because it's I think like you said there's there's definitely people that get into it to be like, "Oh, well, I'll do this to address my parents' concern of like video games are a waste of time." I'm like, "Look, well, yeah, well, I can make money being a streamer." It's like, "Okay, but I think you laid it out so well that there's these different kind of mindset pieces that you need to understand. Like at the end of the day, it is a business, right? It is, you treat it more like a job or more like a business instead of just here's my free time that I just happen to record. It's like, no, there's actually much more that goes into it. And I think those are the people that go into it with that mindset that actually understand that, this is what I'm going to get out of it. This is how I'm going to approach it, that are much more, do that kind of upfront work to understand how they're going to do it. And of course, things change and you have to be flexible and malleable, but understanding that at the beginning will make you much more successful, right? As opposed to, I think how a lot of people get started. And I'll say that I even streamed briefly myself. And that was one of the things when I at least first got started was just like, I'll try it. And just kind of didn't have a plan, just kind of went into it. And it was like, I just floundered on it. So I wasn't consistent. And, I did it like as a hobby or whatever after working like my day job. And of course it was, I was on salary and they had like these kind of flexible hours and I worked, a 24-hour supply chain, right? I had to work with like Japanese suppliers, right? So like sometimes something messes up. It's like, well, it's like 8, 9 p.m. and they need to call me immediately. I'm like, well, I was streaming. And so I had to cancel streams constantly. So it's like you can't be consistent with that. So having enough of a plan to say like, all right, what times are you going to stream? Can you actually hold that space? And that's something that I did not do. It was so like it was fun to stream when I did, but like that level of understanding and that consistency to say like, hey, if it's something that you're going to do and you want it, especially if you want to do it full time, it really needs to you need to treat it that way. You need to treat it like almost a job or a business because that's really if that's where you want your income to come from, that really needs to be that case.
Absolutely.
But so you do it as the hobby. So it's really the IT and the PC building is kind of like yeah, I'll call it the job, right? Is that the career?
Yeah, that's the bread and butter.
Gotcha. And then the yeah, I guess are you hoping to be a full-time streamer or is it just kind of still more of the hobby and just kind of fun on the side?
Well, it's hobby and fun on the side. I have a direction where I like to go with it. However, I do have to once again establish some consistency. So once that's there, I think I'll be in the clear. The equipment is here, so I really have nothing to worry about. Just the consistency and what I'm hoping to get out of it. And I'll give you an example of this as well. I'm not a coder. I suck at coding, sorry. Uh, and I've lost a lot of art skill, not the artist I used to be. So I'm not going to get into the video game industry by traditional means.
Mm.
Now, the example that I'll give you, and forgive me, I'm not too familiar with the streamers' names, but with the development of Street Fighter 6, I believe, there were major streamers who got to develop that game and take part in that game's development. Now, this
Cool.
became, they got brought on because one, they were streamers, they were very heavy into the fighting game community, so they knew a lot of the fighting game history. And I mean, just from Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, everything that had a tournament for it, these guys would run commentary on it, just like our sports announcers in the NBA
Yeah,
or the NFL. Fast forward a couple of years later, now they're welcome to be game developers. So that's the kind of route that I'm trying to take. I can tell you how to make a great game. I can't draw it for you. I can't code it for you, but I know what makes a hell of a game.
that's fantastic. And and guys, let me know in the chat afterwards that if you want to understand how to make a great game, we might bring Terrence back just to learn that aspect of it because I feel like that's like an hour long talk right there.
Definitely.
Super good. So I guess the question that I have on the fighting game side, right? Because so I think you're the first person I've had on that's been like a really fighting game enthusiast, as far as games that they like. What is it about fighting games that you love, and how is that translated, you think, into real life skills?
Well, growing up, I've taken a couple of martial arts classes in a couple of different disciplines, and watching them perform on such a high level, it reminds me of a dance.
Mm.
Just artistically and visually, like it looks like two people dancing. Dodges are executed properly, side steps, punches, and everything, just looking beautiful. And that translates well into certain fighting games, especially on a competitive level. I mean, for example, my mainstay is Tekken. I love that franchise. Been a fan since its inception. So watching the evolution from Tekken 1 to Tekken 8 and then watching the gameplay styles is just amazing. So watching that being executed at a high level is a beautiful thing to watch. Like I said, it's a dance. And so, with that, um, there comes a lot of things that you have to understand. You have to understand timing. There are visual and audio cues that the characters and the buttons make. So when you got your combo going and they just hear it sounds right, oh, you're doing something right, and then it translates into the game. Whenever you get a chance, just look up some Tekken juggles and
Tekken
just
juggles. Okay, yep.
yeah, Tekken juggles. Just Google that or YouTube that, and you'll see we'll see what I mean. The button presses translate to the hits on screen, and oh man, it's just amazing.
That's good. Yeah, because the as far as I'm trying to think my fighting game experience, so and I guess do you consider a fighting game or is it a different genre? Smash Brothers.
Okay, so I've grown to consider it a fighting game. However, it
Okay.
is a different genre.
Yeah, that's kind of why, because because when I hear fighting games and that being kind of a more Smash Brothers play, I've done some Street Fighter, not a lot. I guess the true fighting games, the two fighting games that I've actually been interested in and played at least a modicum amount is Guilty Gear,
Good,
that
good.
franchise, and the and of course I think the same developer, right? The Dragon Ball Z Fighters
Yes, or Arc Sys, yeah,
Arc
same
System, yeah.
guys.
So love the Dragon Ball franchise. When I heard that they were making that one, I was like, oh, please tell me more. So 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 those because I think it's those there's 2D and 3D fighters, of course, but like those like straight just match and those I think are fighting games because Smash Brothers I do feel also is just kind of it's like its own world over here. It's like yes,
Yeah,
it's a fighting game sort of, but
it's
it's a little bit
chaos.
yeah, it's a little bit more cartoonish. It's a little more like silly in a way, but it's different enough that that I think it's a genre. But I think there's a lot of similarities, I guess, is the point there. Um, so I think it's that some of the same things. So I'm trying to say like from what I understand from Smash Brothers, and then apply that to like what I learned like Guilty Gear and that kind of stuff. It is like how precise timing is so important, and understanding how yeah kind of the process and of course like I think practice too like where so many I think that you would agree right that just the amount of practice that people put into it just to get to that level because certain combos especially right when you finally land the hit right and like so they didn't block you're like okay well now I got to do this whole sequence of events to actually do the most amount of damage otherwise you drop the combo and then they get away and you're like well I wasted my opportunity right.
Yeah, yeah. There's a level of efficiency there that's just amazing.
That's great. And is Dragon Ball Fighters one that you're familiar with? I'm just
Oh
curious from the
yes, yes, yes. Oh, absolutely. I love that game. Now I wish I was as good as Sonic Fox, but No.
Yeah, there's definitely people out there that I'm like, I don't know how you do that, but it's just being the amateur. It's just like just love to watch and enjoy and just kind of play with it, like whatever skill level I'm at, right? Just to kind of enjoy it. Oh, so much fun. So, did have a question about so taking the I'll say taking the fighting game aspect of it and saying like other genres that you've played, right? What's probably the next most genre that you play?
RPGs, definitely.
RPGs.
Yeah.
Love me some RPGs too. So
Yeah.
what would you say that you have learned about I guess life career through RPGs?
It's funny. If we go the action RPG route, I'll say threat analysis. Now
Aha.
that is a term in business.
Yeah,
However,
it is.
a threat analysis, what I'm referring to is Elden Ring. You hear the Latin music play, and then you see a red energy bar that clearly indicates a boss fight.
Yep.
So same thing. You get that phone call, and it's a priority three call, and it's all hands on deck. You know something probably went down in the office that's needed. So it's one of those cues
It's
like
one of
that.
those when the boss music in real life plays, right?
hmm Exactly.
So,
And
so
then
you,
also with RPGs, a lot of people don't understand, and it even goes back to more so a traditional JRPG. There's a game behind the game. Like, yes, you go to your automatic boss field fight transition, the
yeah,
screen turns, now you get the menu, you press attack, you do this. Yeah, to most people that aren't gamers, they'll be overwhelmed like, hey, all these menus, what do they do?
yep,
That's one game. Then the other game is the equipment game. So now there's math.
yep,
Now there's math involved. Your character has base stats. The item has a certain amount of stats. You put those stats together, then you have to apply those stats into an actual battle. And I love that thought process. Like I love playing the game behind the game. I think that is just an amazing skill to have. Not only is it good for gaming, but that is something invaluable in real life. I mean, take it from the job searching aspect. I mean, that playing the game behind the game is your cover letter, your resume, your presentation, how you present yourself and sell yourself to your potential employer.
yep. Wow, yeah, the game behind the game I loved because that's kind of like the power gaming is another term for it I've heard and or min maxing. I like
Min
that
maxing,
term
yeah.
too. Yep. And because you say that I love that aspect of the game myself because that's something that I've definitely done whether it's RPGs and like going back Final Fantasies especially and just getting the right gear or getting the right setup right and the right combos to be like all right this character is going to be crazy powerful because I have all this stuff and especially when you have other games where you could slot in like specific skills, right? When you had to equip or either learn or equip skills, and you're like, all right, how does this fit with this equipment that gives this ability, and getting it all set up. So much fun. I love those. And the fact that we can use it kind of as like the cover letter, as kind of like the saying, hey, how can I basically gamify? How can I take this skill and actually apply it to quote, getting a job, like getting a promotion, getting a raise, whatever it is, and taking that skill and say like, hey, this is how the behind the system works. I can make it work for me. That is super cool. Oh gosh, and I know we could talk probably for hours, but I did want it to respect time, and we just might start winding down this particular episode. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we get as much great, valuable information for the gamers out there. So, Terrence, what is something that maybe we've missed so far? What is something that you would say to, especially to the gamers, that maybe don't understand or haven't ever thought that their gaming time, that the time they spent gaming was useful outside of the game? Like, what advice would you have for them?
Uh, I would say, and it started with me at this point too. I'd say a lot of self-reflection. Think about you. Think about your skills. Think about what you can provide. Then think about how awesome at the game you are. I'd like to say you can Venn diagram that.
Hmm. Yep.
Everything that meets in the middle, you should sell that. You should promote that. And you should wear that with pride. And feeling good about yourself, people see that. and it translates into the real world, translates into the business world. And secondly, you did mention it, practice. Practice mode. Practice mode is in video games. Take these skills and you practice them. Practice makes perfect. So the more you repeat them, the more successful you'll be, the more comfortable in your skin you'll be, and the more you can sell yourself naturally. And that's the key word, naturally.
Yes, get it to the point that you could do it naturally, because that level of practice, right? That's something that surprises me sometimes that outside of the game, we don't practice as much, right? Because you get out in the real world and it just seems like, well, you got to be perfect the very first time, or no, it's not for me. It's like, when has that ever been the case, right? We just get into this kind of rut, I think, out in the world, especially in like career and business. Like they want you to be perfect the very first time, and you're like, well, guess that's not for me. It's like, well, no, like it's okay to practice. It's
Yeah,
okay to fail. And there are plenty of, companies and career paths not only allow that, but like even encourage that and be like, especially like entrepreneurship, like if you start your own business, right? Some of the best advice is like fail. If you're going to fail, fail fast, right? Like try it, try it, try it, try it. If it doesn't work, great. Move on to the next idea. You don't even worry about that, right? As opposed to just hanging in limbo of like just mediocrity or just, subpar performance. You're like, no, practice, change, whatever you need to do. And I think it goes back to what you said before too, is as far as taking action, right? Because sometimes practice is another form of action, right? Just try try it again, and try it more until you're great at it, until it's natural. Love that.
absolutely.
Great. Terrence, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find out more about you and kind of what you do as far as, the PC building and the streaming, especially?
Oh, the PC building, like I said, that's not too much of a big deal. That's just something I do on the side,
Yep.
and that's something that's just been invaluable for me at work. They want you to know your way around a screwdriver and some wires, and that's definitely not a problem for me.
Gotcha.
However, you guys can find me at twitch.tv/Nero088. Um, on there, you'll find me. You'll find some clips up there. You'll also see an about me section that'll take you to other avenues that I'm on. It'll take you to my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter/X, and you'll also find some clips up there. So if you can comment on those clips, let me know if you like what you see. I'll provide you with more of it. And I guess for the sake of it, I'll go live today to give you guys something to see and just bring you into my world a bit.
Very good. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Terrence. And we'll have the link for you guys down in the description below. So definitely check out Terrence and check out all the cool stuff he's doing over there. I cannot wait to check it out actually myself. So I love the fighting games too. So how much looking forward to what you got on there too.
Thank you,
Super good.
Daniel. Thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you, Terrence. Thank you for being here. And I do have one final question before you go, which I do ask all of my guests, which is, of course, what is your favorite video game?
Second.
Tekken. Love it. Yeah, you kind of mentioned too. I was like, is he going to say Tekken or is it going to be something? Yeah, love it. So good. Now, is it the first one or is one of them better than the others?
Now that's an issue, man. We got
Yeah,
30
now we're
years of
splitting hairs,
games.
right?
I'd say
Tekken, we'll
eight.
leave it at
I'll
that.
go with eight.
There we go. Perfect. Gosh. All right. So Tekken, the game of the day for you guys. So Terrence, thank you so much for being here. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, stay awesome. And I'll see you in the next one.